Hi, everybody, and welcome to a beautiful Friday here at the Great Race Place. And for the next 5 hours, I'm changing the name, personally changing the name of Santa Anita Park to Carryover City. You want to know why? We've got two carryovers, one in the traditional $2 pick six. Nobody hit the pick six yesterday. That carryover is in excess of $20,000. That'll begin in race 3 today on today's 8-race card. And we've also got a $1 sunset pick six. If you're not familiar with that wager, that links the last 3 races at Gulfstream Park with the last 3 races at Santa Anita. That carryover is $8,000. And you know what? We almost had a third carryover as well. Did you see the result in the Coast to Coast Pick 5 yesterday? That wager also links races from Gulfstream Park and Santa Anita. One winning ticket in the Coast to Coast Pick 5, it paid $59,000, on a $540 ticket. Congratulations to that very lucky and skilled ticket holder. But we start fresh today, and we've got the perfect seminar guest. He's been picking winners lately. He's seeing the ball clearly. His name, David Nance. David, welcome to the seminar.
Always good to be here, kid. Always
Happy New Year. Great to have you here.
Happy New Year to you, buddy.
You should be smiling. You're picking some winners and putting some cash
well, you know,
in your pocket.
every once in a while, blind pig finds an acorn, and that's me. You know,
you just roll around in the slop and hope you find
hopefully
something.
Every once in a while they turn their head. Turn their head.
All seriousness, David, you've been playing the horses for a long, long time. And I'll ask you a question, ask a lot of my seminar guests. Maybe what is one thing you've learned over the years that you now apply in your handicapping that weekend horse players maybe might not do? And let me kind of lead the witness a little bit. Do you spend more time watching replays? Do you spend more time looking at the sheets? Like, what are you doing now maybe that you didn't do 3 or 4 decades ago?
I certainly watch films now. I mean, to me, that's the most important thing because, you know, and understanding race strengths, I think, is always important. You know, knowing where horses are coming from, whether they're dropping, going up, and all that type of thing. And, of course, when you're looking at turf racing, you know, like I used to tell the old guys in the old day, find Chris McCarron, follow him, move when he does. Same thing here. You know, Barrios, Antonio Forsu, JJ, Rispoli, they're just awesome.
What about from the wagering standpoint, David? In other words, you know, we've learned a lot of tough beats over the years, and sometimes you can't really take any of that luck out of your wagering strategy. But from a wagering strategy standpoint, currently, do you find your time maybe spending more time just betting straight to win? Do you still dabble in the exotics? Like, how have you modified your wagering habits?
Well, I've been trying to bet win more. You know, I've gotten away from that over the years, you know, with rolling bets because, you know, I'm always trying to turn little money into big money.
Of course, that's
the
name of the game.
And, you know, but sometimes when you waste a $30 or $40 horse and you miss a 2 to 5 shot or something, you know, that really stings. So I've been trying to find more win betting and trying to bet more to win now as well as rolling bets.
You mentioned that replays and watching film is a big part of your handicapping arsenal. What about using the sheets? Are the sheets now kind of, I don't know what the right word would be, maybe overutilized and depressing any value you can get out of them, or are they still of value?
You know, when you look at, you know, Thorograph and Ragozin, two different people, you know, I mean, sometimes they're on completely different wavelengths, and you just you know, I always believe that if the person's not making the variant right, the number's going to be wrong.
Correct.
So, you know, I think, you know, at our place out here, I think the variant stays pretty consistent as opposed to the deeper tracks back east.
And the weather.
Where the weather changes it, where they get softer and harder. But I think as a rule, you know, the sheets are a tool just like anything. I mean, I'm not like a diehard sheet reader, but I mean, I certainly use it as a tool.
What about filtering out all the gossip, let's say, of people, trainers, owners who like horses? They whisper in your ear, my horse can't lose. You know it has no shot according to the sheets. Like, how do you kind of filter your way through all of that nonsense?
Well, Delmar that's the epitome of that because every trainer loves their horse at Delmar. I mean, Delmar's like, you know, they're all lined up like, you know, trained pigs, ready to bet their horses. But, you know, certainly there's always whispers and you can get swayed one way or another, but sometimes it's very good information. I mean, I think it's from the source. I think more from the source than just, you know, a trainer liking his horse or whatever. You know, I always used to tell Barry Abrams, God rest his soul, that tell me when he's no good, Barry, not when he's good.
You stole the words right out of my mouth because that's the information you want to find out.
When they're no good.
It doesn't come very often. But when it comes, you have to react.
Right. And when they're saying, well, you know, he's got a shot in here, but, you know, I'm not crazy about that kind of thing.
Right. What about, we talked about jockeys a little bit, particularly on the turf course. Do you favor some trainers on the turf course as well, or are trainers not important on the turf course as jockeys are?
They're very much important. I mean, Phil D'Amato is awesome. I mean, you look at his record, John Sadler, their records are awesome on the turf. And yeah, I think you have to look at that. And I think jockeys are, you know, to me, Hector Barrios is number one for me, you know, and then I think it falls Rispoli, JJ, and Fresiu. You know, they're all great, but I mean, Hector just has a sense of it. His hands are so soft, and he just has great timing and has a great clock in his head.
We always mention his name at the end of the seminar. I'm going to change that on today's seminar and mention his name within the first 5 minutes of the seminar. Your good friend, Eric Roth. He's an incredibly talented man. He's won multiple Academy Awards and other awards in film, and he's writing, and he's just a tremendous person, and he loves playing the horses.
He sure does.
Tell us about his latest endeavor.
He's got a new play out. It's adapted from the old Western High Noon, and it's just currently premiered in London, and I guess it came open to rave reviews, and he's hoping that it does well and it comes over here to Broadway.
I mean, Dunes, Muhammad Ali. I mean, the list is endless of the things where he's been.
Forrest Gump. I mean, that's just to say the least of it. Right?
Do you think because of his creativity is why he likes playing the horses? Because to be a good horse player, you have to be creative.
Eric himself will tell you he will give up that Oscar to win an NHC tournament. He would give up that Oscar tomorrow if he could win the NHC. So that kind of goes to show you how Eric feels about racing. He loves it.
Right.
He absolutely loves it.
Is he a sheets guy as well?
No, he's a meat and potatoes? He's a workout guy. He loves the workout sheets. That's his Bible.
What about, speaking of Bibles, a natural lead into the daily racing form? I see it printed out in front of you. Do you use Brisnet? Do you use any of the other tools?
I don't. I just play out a form every day. Because I like, my eyes are so bad. I like the white sheets as opposed to the yellow sheets. So it's easier for me to read.
Bob Baffert obviously always dominates the 3-year-old races this time of year here in Southern California. Anybody catch your eye up to this point? Like Ted Duffy, let's use him as an example. He was the Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner. He was back on the work tab this morning. People were concerned, but he is now back in training. Yeah. Is he kind of the horse
I don't think there's a whole lot out here right now that's like jumping off the page. But 2-year-olds, and 3-year-olds, they just jump up from week to week. So you never know what can jump out of here.
And I'm glad you brought that up, David, because I see you spend a lot of time in the paddock as well, particularly when you're alive for a big score. You usually waddle down to the paddock and want to take a look at what your horse looks like. That also is an important aspect of handicapping.
What you don't want to see them acting up, sweating already down there, getting antsy, and of course, you're looking for a little bit of beef on their body. You don't want to see ribs showing. So, you're hoping that the trainer was feeding them the last couple of weeks. So, like I said, I think that's very important. Body language is very important.
With your passion for horse racing, David, have you ever actually dabbled and owned a horse of any sort of fraction or anything like that?
I spend enough money betting on them. I don't want to feed them.
We've always got positive energy whenever we have David Nance as our seminar guest. We're going to find out who David likes on today's 8-race card. I can tell you this, the scratches today are minimal. Thank God. We're going to find out who those are, because right now we're going to toss the microphone over to track announcer Frank Miramati and get the early changes on today's card here at the Great Race Place.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Santa Anita Park, the Great Race Place. The track is fast, the turf is firm, the rail on the turf out 20 feet. We have a couple of nice carryovers. Sunset Pick 6. For those of you not familiar, this is a wager where you get the last 3 races of Gulfstream and the last 3 from Santa Anita, a combined $1 Pick 6. That starts with Gulfstream's 8th today. There's $8,016 in that carryover. And our regular $2 Pick 6 on races 3 through 8, $20,692 carryover. Here are the changes on today's card. These are the early ones, and for those of you who got them already, this scratch just came in the first for number 3, Deep Blue. 3, Deep Blue is scratched, and as a result, no show wagering in the opener. The early pick 5 and all-turf pick 3 both start with the first. In race 2, no changes. Early pick 4 wagering is offered. The third starts to pick 6, scratch 7, Angie's Tipsy. Pick 6, 20,000 plus, carryover, starts with race 3. In the fourth, a blinker note as we start the late pick 5. Turning to the fifth race, late pick 4 begins with no program changes. In the sixth, $3 late pick 3 wagering offered, no scratches or jockey changes. In the seventh event, $5 late double offered, no changes other than that overweight. Number 5, Atomic Drop, 2 over. And in the eighth, we have a program scratch of 8, Better Days Are Coming. Super high 5 wagering is offered. Those are the changes on today's card. Great Cal Cup action tomorrow. Don't forget, we also have special Monday racing. And every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we offer the Coast to Coast Pick 5. So we have 2 bets that combine races from Gulfstream and Santa Anita. The Coast to Coast Pick 5, another huge payoff yesterday. And it starts with Gulfstream's 9th race at 1:20 Pacific. Let's go back to Quigley's Corner. Please enjoy your afternoon here at Santa Anita Park with our drink specials, free admission and parking on Fridays. David Nance joins Tom Quigley for the rest of the seminar.
Welcome back. We're talking horses with veteran horse player David Nance. It's our pleasure to have him today. As you'll hear during the next 28 minutes, David's a very creative handicapper. He doesn't just take what's on paper and give you every 3 to 5 shot on today's card, including in race number 1, David, where we begin the early 50-cent early pick 5. This race is 1 mile on the turf course. The rails today are 20 feet. It's a filly and mare race for starter optional claiming types. As you just heard track announcer Frank Miramati say, take out number 3, Deep Blue. That leaves us with a field of 4. The original morning line favorite and the current betting choice at 3 to 5 is on the rail, number 1, Rehearsal. Before we get your thoughts on the race, David, I wanted to watch a replay that 3 of these 4 runners exit. That race would be back on November 29th at Del Mar. We're going to watch in this replay both Rehearsal, Garden Party, and Infinity Dream Run. This race was won by Miyako from the George Papadroma barn. He's going to be running, I should say, she's going to be running in race number 5 today, so we get to watch her race in this replay as well. But the runner I want you to pay attention to is wearing saddlecloth number 10 in this replay, and that would be Rehearsal. I thought that Juan Hernandez was a little bit overpatient with her down the backside, particularly since there was no other early speed. But you be the judge. Let's listen. Larry Colmus described the action back on back on November 29th, and watch the runners breaking from the outside 3 post positions, including the one breaking from post position number 10.
They're off. Even beginning here, Miyako will establish the early lead and speeds off to a 3-length advantage. And then it's Infinity Dream away running in second. Magali is third to the inside. And then comes Church Lady, Cat the Confidant. And on their outside is Garden Party as they race for that first turn. And then comes Time to Dream, who's down toward the rail just ahead of Rehearsal. Sakura Flavor is second last. Alaramo is the trailer. The leader is Miyako, and Edwin Maldonado heading onto the backstretch in the clear by almost 3 lengths after a 23.12 opening quarter mile. And then it's Infinity Dream running along in second position, followed by Magali in third. After that, Church Lady, Cat the Confidant down toward the rail, a length and a half to Garden Party, who's hard held at this stage, about 8 lengths off the lead. Then comes Time to Shine, followed by Rehearsal, Sakura Flavor, and Alaramo is last. It's been Miyako so far. 47.63 was that first half mile. It's almost a 4-length lead now as they enter the far turn. Infinity Dream has been second throughout. Magali is third. Church Lady on the outside. Cat the Confidant is down toward the rail. Garden Party is in behind them, still with about 7 lengths to make up. And then comes Time to Shine on the inside. Can Miyako keep on going here? Turning for home with a 4-length lead. Miyako in front. Garden Party is let loose on the outside and begins to gain quickly. Cat the Confidant is one off the rail and now second. And as they come into the final 16th, it is still Miyako and Cat the Confidant second best as they come down to the wire. Miyako never looked back. Second looks like Cat the Confidant, holding off a late challenge from
David, when Miyako was able to carve out fractions of 47 and change, 112 and change loose on the lead, it was her race to lose, and she did not, despite the late efforts by Rehearsal. Now, the key scratch in this race that was just announced is Deep Blue is coming out of the race in race number 1. It looked like she might be one of the pace setters. That's one of the reasons why you like your top choice, number 4, Infinity Dream.
Well, the reason why I picked Infinity Dream is, like I always say to people that I talk to, Del Mar Turf Course and San Diego Turf Course are 2 different turf courses. And, when you look back at her maiden win for 50, she was really good. She stalked a decent pace, drew off. Wild Princess came out of that race to win, who's got contending speed. That's why I think now with Deep Blue out, I think that'll help. I think that should help Infinity Dream. I don't know what Umbi will do on the bottom with Wild Princess. There's a chance that he might go, but I think, Tiago, hopefully that, he's here listening and that I'd like to see him go on the lead here and control this race. Rehearsal definitely did run good. Like you said, the pace was slow. He came running. He galloped out really, really good in that race. Certainly he's a contender. I made the race 4 over 5.
If Tiago's not listening to the seminar, which is unlikely, you can always give him writing instructions in the paddock before the first race today, David. Race number 2 begins the 50-cent early pick 4. We're sprinting 5.5 furlongs on the main track for maiden claiming Calbred, fillies and mares, a field of 5. Heavy morning line favorite number 1, Delaterra from the Mark Glatt barn, going from maiden special weight to maiden claiming, also turf to dirt. Give us your thoughts on race 2.
Again, a super competitive race. I think probably the only horse in my mind that doesn't really have a chance is Daddy gave it to me. West Fresno, I looked at that horse long and hard. He's a speed horse from the outside.
I always like speed horses from that box because if they bust and they can make the lead 5.5. Bellatier, SoCal Workouts has a really, really good work on that horse. Della down on the bottom, his first race was good and down at Santa Anita on the dirt when they took it off the turf. And Mark Glatt has been hitting on all cylinders. I ended up picking Stubborn here. His first race was super impressive, and then he dueled the next day in a really, really contentious race when Almond Joy, Miss Practical, and Darling Tama was really, really contentious maiden race that day. Then he went on turf, which obviously he didn't like, and stretched out. Now he's got him back on the dirt. If the race kind of sets up the way I think it hopefully should, Jenny's Wild Girl has a little bit of speed. Delaterra will probably send from down on the inside West Fresno. I'm hoping this new kid Belmont, he's not a bad rider. He's getting, limited opportunities, but doing the most of it when he does. I ended up picking 2 over 1 here.
I'm glad you mentioned Caesar Belmont, a recent arrival from overseas. He certainly has made a good impression, as you mentioned, David, with limited mounts, 2 for 9 so far in 2025. And as I said, with limited opportunities. Also, one other additional note on David's top selection, number 2, Stubborn in race number 2. This is courtesy of Brad Free with the Daily Racing Form. The last 5 years, the trainer Michael McCarthy barn with dirt sprint maidens off in excess of 180 days, which is the category Stubborn fits. They're 6 for 18. That's 33% the last 5 years. So they do well in this particular type of situation. So keep your eyes on number 2, Stubborn, who is 4-1 on the morning line in race number 2. On today's 8-race card, the $2 pick 6 with the aforementioned $20,000 carryover begins in race number 3, where once again we're sprinting 5.5 furlongs on the main track. Fillies and mares, non-winners of 3 races lifetime, $10,000 is the claiming tag. Scratch number 7 leaves us with a field of 6 morning line favorite. Once again, down on the rail, number 1, Manier from the Gennaro Vallejo barn, 9-5 on the morning line. Mirko DeMuro in the saddle. Talk to us about race 3, David.
Loaded with speed, Tom. Usually, that's the first thing I'm always looking for is trying to isolate maybe a lone speed, but Elton Sings another, St. Mihiel and Toulouse-Lautrec, even Stracker from coming down from La Salle. And obviously Angie's Tipsy, who was a late scratch, was another speed. So for me, unless one of these speeds gets loose, I think the race sets up perfectly for Monet. He tracked the other day. He was really good in that race down at down at Los Alamitos. He picks up Mirko, who's done really, really well here. I always look for a rider switch as well. Elton dropping down, if Elton or Toulouse-Lautrec happens, Georgie's hitting on all cylinders as well.
He sure
George
is.
Papadromo. So, if one of them happens to get loose, they could be very tough in here. Saint Mahel, again, another horse that wants to lead. So you got 2, 3, and 4 all looking probably to jam out of there. I just think the race sets up for Monet. I picked it 1 over 2.
You mentioned Los Alamitos and, of course, the thoroughbred shift over there in the afternoon, but they do run some thoroughbreds on the nighttime signal. Do you ever dabble on the nighttime signal?
Well, I have one of the greatest handicappers, of course, Richard Sklar, that loves Los Al quarter horses. So, yes, when he plays, I'll play.
Do you just follow his lead, or you actually take a look
at
the racing
I follow
form?
the leader there. I follow the leader there.
He's the king of Los Al.
Yeah, he's the king of Los Al. I give him the crown.
You're old enough to remember the Orange County Fair during the summer months there. That was a lot of fun.
I mean, well, I remember all the fairs, and of course, I'm sure you did too.
Of course.
And the fairs were amazing, and unfortunately they've gone away.
But Shoemaker Road at Los Alamitos at night, people might find that hard to believe. Some of the jockeys would pile into a car from Del Mar
and
make
go down
the 75-mile trip up north.
They'd play Cypress Golf Course in the morning and then jump over there in the afternoon.
That's where Tiger Woods learned how to play golf.
Exactly.
That's no longer
from that
there.
area. I know that big church is there.
I've never been in there.
Yeah, neither. Well, I don't worship there either. So
race number 4 begins the 50-cent late pick 5, another popular wager. We're going 1 mile on the main track. This is for $10,000 claimers, non-winners of 2 races lifetime. We've got a field of 6. Gentlemen's Club out of the world-famous mare Girl Downstairs is the 5-2 morning line favorite, taking blinkers off. Thumbs up or thumbs down on the favorite here, David?
I just, I'm having a tough time with this race. It's contentious. Again, it's really contentious race. You got 1, 2, 3 of them that come out of that McGregor girl race. They all kind of ran even in there. I kind of look towards Tommy's Typhoon Tommy, because again, my old friend Woody Copeland, he makes great sense.
He's a TV star.
He sure is. He makes great sense when he tells me take those speed horses from the rail going a mile, and I've heeded his words quite a few times, and it works out pretty good. Yeah. It sure has. So I think he's got an advantage from down there on the rail. He's got speed to run out of there, and these horses have just kind of they're all followers, honestly, if you ask me. And Uncle Avco, sometimes when a horse wakes up breaking his mate, even though it was a 12-5 Calbred, he did it pretty easily. I make him my second choice. Mischievous Moments, he kind of ran a dead third in the McGregor Lake race. Again, no strong opinion, but I think the one from the rail has a big advantage. I picked a 1 over 6.
Race number 5 begins the 50-cent late pick 4. We're going 1 mile on the turf course for fillies and mares. It's a starter allowance race. We've got a field of 8. Once again, the favorite down on the rail, number 1, Miss Mayher, is the 7-2 lukewarm morning line favorite from the Gus Headley barn. Give us your thoughts on race 5.
Well, this is a non-winners of 3, which of course is every bunch of, when horses jump up from the 2 level to 3 level, it's always important. Miyako, like you said, that the film that you showed in the first race, obviously he ran really, really good. He ran away from there. And again, it was a fresh George Papadromo. I can't say that he can't win here, but there's other speeds in this race. Going Lucky, coming from Woodbine, he should really like the turf. His first 2 races were really good. He sat second in that next level, which was a pretty tough level, and he just kind of ran even and didn't really do anything. I just don't know what Rispoli will do. Will he send him out of there? OK Rose is capable of showing speed. I love the way Alaramo ran the other day. The pace was a little tough, was a little quick. He did have Pratt, but he just looked like at no point at the top of the lane would I thought this horse was going to win. Flavian angled him off the rail. He finished full of run. He won with all the gas in the tank. He's 8-1. Steve Sherman's a great trainer. Obviously he comes from Michael, which, but he's the kind of guy that will keep this horse going well. Miss Mager down on the inside has got speed as well. I just made the race 4 over 3, Tom.
Race number 6 begins the $3 late pick 3 with a reduced 15% takeout, and we kick off that wager in race 6, sprinting 7 furlongs in the main track for allowance optional claiming types. Non-winners of 2 other than. We've got a number of comeback horses in this field of 5, including the Moriah Line favorite number 3, Pilot Commander, one of 2 trained in race number 6 by trainer Bob Baffert. Before we get your thoughts on the race, David, courtesy of XBTV, I should say FirstTV.com, let's take a look at a workout. Take a look at who these workmates are. On the outside is Pilot Commander. On the inside is Winterfell. We'll continue to watch the work. What I found interesting is these are the 2 runners from Bob Baffert's barn. And ironically, Bob Baffert trained both of the sires. The sire for Winterfell is Arrogate. That's, you can see the gray coat on Winterfell down on the inside. And Pilot Commander on the outside was sired by Justify. So certainly the progeny of some of Bob Baffert's best horses are now sons and daughters in his barn as well. But you can see this is a pretty quick work, which is typical for Bob Baffert, 59 and change. We'll continue to watch the work. And as you've mentioned many times, Juan Hernandez usually is the tip of the hand as to who Bob Baffert might like best. And after watching this work, I can understand maybe why Juan is on Winterfell, because despite Pilot Commander trying to get by on the training track drill here on January 5th, he was unable to do so. You're going to be able to see that Winterfell's able to hold him off. Both are coming off long layoffs. It's difficult to judge, as you can see by the moisture in the infield. This was during one of the rainy days, but Winterfell never lets Pilot Commander get by. Don't know if that means anything or not, but it certainly kind of perked my eyes and ears up. Who do you like best in race 6 and why,
again,
David?
I think it's a super contentious race, and of course, you always have to deal with Bob. I mean, he's got 2 layoff horses. They're both fresh. They're both going to probably show speed. I think Pilot Commander is faster than Winterfell. You know, they broke off in a gallop, so you know it looks a little when they were going head and head in that work. But I think Pilot Commander is way faster. Bilotti has speed for Craig down on the inside. I think he's going to send him, because the horse that I like is Midnight Mammoth. I thought his second race down in the Gold Cup was awesome. He ran unbelievable there. Then he laid up and then dueled in the Pacific Classic. Now he gives them another break off, comes back, going 7/8 off the layoff. If 3 and 4 somehow hook up, and of course Winterfell probably won't be that far away. I think Midnight Mammoth, the 7/8 might be a perfect distance for him. I picked 2 over 3 here.
I talked about Bob Baffert having 2 runners in the race. Owner Jeffrey Sangara has 2 runners in the race, both of whom you mentioned. One of them who you like on top, Midnight Mammoth. Jeffrey also owns Bilotti. Good luck to he and his family, who are huge supporters of Southern California racing. Race number 7 begins the $5 late daily double, also with a reduced 15% takeout. And we kick off that wager in race 7, sprinting 6.5 furlongs on the main track, $20,000 claimers. Good field of 7 here. Number 1, Man Child. The rail post position has mostly post-time favorites throughout the entire card today. Man Child, trained by Jesse Uranga, 2-1 on the Moriah Line, ridden by Edwin Maldonado. We know what that means. Theft is on the agenda.
Well, there's a lot of speed in here, though. You know, again, like I said, I'm always looking for speed. Man Child, the big cheese can roll out of there tougher than the rest. Atomic Drop, even Raging Waters can show speed. Habeas Fresh with Brian's horse off the layoff from that box can show speed. I think the race is loaded with speed. 6.5 is always a tough distance for a speed horse to hold on, especially if they get pressure up front. That's why I really like Gypsy Tears. His second race down at Del Mar at 16, he won at this level. He sat, he stalked, he opened up, he won with plenty of gas. Then they stepped him up to 32, going 7/8 when the pace was a little bit slower, and he just kind of ran even. I think the race sets up perfect for him here. Like I said, the Man Child might be the fastest. If he somehow clears, he would be. I picked him second, and I think Brian's horse on the bottom has a chance from that box. But I really like Gypsy Tears here.
Let me ask you a question, David, on a runner you didn't mention, and specifically it would be for number 6, Raging Waters. I know a lot of handicappers who are sharp, who like trainers and owners that triple jump horses up in class, which is exactly what trainer Steve Knapp is doing with number 6, Raging Waters. He gets the red hot Jaramillo to ride as well. Give Raging Waters any sort of a look?
Absolutely. I think they went quick in that race over there. They went, 21:45. I think they were dueling up front there. So, it's a little worse than look, but certainly that horse figures here. And like you said, with Jaramillo, coming new on the scene and has a really, really good sense of pace, and he likes to put horses into races, absolutely I give him a chance.
That was a heck of a ride by him in yesterday's nightcap.
He was great. I mean, he fought him for a half a mile, had his head up in the air, finally got him on the bit, right around the quarter pole, and he just cruised.
A healthy addition to the Southern California jockey colony, that's for sure. We close out today's eighth race card in race number 8, offering $1 super high five wager. We're back on the turf course sprinting, 6 furlongs the distance, $25,000 is the claiming tag. 1 program scratch the 8, still leaves us with a good field of 9, the Maury Line favorite. Lukewarm at that. They're going to vie for favoritism, either number 7, Minister Shane, or number 10, Harsian. 9-2 in both particular cases, likely to drift a little bit lower. Give us your thoughts on the nightcap.
Again,
David.
It's a super contentious race. Always the turf races are contentious. I mean, Commander, he's always got a chance. Simplicity, what I didn't like about this horse was that Hector jumped off him. Harsian was really good the other day, ran really good. I mean, I shouldn't say the other day, back in November, he coming off of a voided claim, but he finished full of run that day. Crosby Beach dueled in that open 40, going a flat mile and flattened out. Jeff Mullins, you always got to deal with. I ended up picking Code Duello. He's a stab here for me. He's 2 for 2 at the distance. He likes the turf. I just keep hearkening back to his race in the Hernandez Grade 2 last year, where he went 21-4-43. 3 against Motorius, who was so sharp at that time, and Sumter, who those horses would tow rope this field, and he only got beat a short. He gets rid of Edgar Paez, and Hector jumps on him. I'm stabbing with him. I picked a 2/7.
10-1 for David's top selection in the nightcap race number 8. David, I wanted to revisit a comment that you made earlier on today's card, because I think a lot of handicappers will find it interesting. You talked about how different the Del Mar turf course is from the Santa Anita turf course. Can you give us more indication of why you have that belief?
Well, I always didn't think it was, but the 5/8 down there, you would think that speed horses would be tougher down there, but it actually becomes the stretch runners win more of the races down there than the speed horses. Where over here, I think the turf course this meet, more so than ever, has been super fair. I think speed has been okay at times, and stretch runners have been coming. So, that's all you ask for, that it's fair. And I just think the difference between the banking and all the rest of it, especially at Del Mar, with the sharper turns, especially when they're coming down the chute, it plays a huge part. And same thing here. When they come out of the chute, even down here, they make that short left turn, and those horses like yesterday, where they had that inquiry, and where a horse was kind of tightening them up,
jammed up.
If you don't break well, there's a huge advantage to those outside posts.
We've always got a huge advantage whenever we have David Nance as our seminar guest. Before I cut David loose, just a couple of reminders to keep in mind some additional wagers David and I have not yet spoken about. One would be the $1 Coast to Coast Pick 5. As you heard me in the opening, yesterday's winning ticket cost $540. It paid $59,000. So there's money to be made playing the $1 Coast to Coast Pick 5. That links races from Gulfstream Park and Santa Anita. Today's kickoff race in the Coast to Coast Pick 5 is Gulfstream Park, race number 9. Post time for that is 1:20 p.m. Pacific time. And also keep in mind the $1 Sunset Pick 6. That's offered every day when both Santa Anita and Gulfstream run it. As you can see on the graphic right now, there's a carryover in that $1 Sunset Pick 6 wager as well. $8,000 already in the kitty, low 15% takeout. Make sure you get involved. Speaking of getting involved, make sure you get involved tomorrow. It's Cal Cup Day, a celebration for all the Calbred owners, trainers, and equine athletes. First post tomorrow will be 12:30 p.m. Pacific time. Great 9-race card with 5 stake races. David, thanks so much for your time and insight today. Always a lot of fun. I'll see you down in the paddock, and I'll make sure that I listen to you give Tiago instructions before race number 1.
Always great to see you, Tom.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you again tomorrow. In the meantime, have a great afternoon, and good luck.